Asteroid B.
When Earth shit itself to death. Literally, supplies stopped coming to Asteroid B. On Earth, COVID eventually stopped infecting people's lungs as all the anti-maskers died off. The rest were left with the latest strain, Upsilon BXXX.1.69, dubbed the leaky killer. Within a week, Terminal Bloody Wetbutt had the entire world glued to their porcelain seats. Within 2, all that was left was a few billion shit-covered corpses.
Mayhe says all this in a tone that is both matter-of-fact and subtly condescending. She stands tall at 5'2", with a flat affect that rarely, if ever, changes. In a smart-looking suit, a gray streak in her hair, and a few well-concealed neck wrinkles are the only indications of her age. The captain of the ship, identifiable by his black and white yacht cap and thick, deceivingly noble, gray-flecked beard, wipes a drop of sweat off his face with a white-gloved hand. He stands next to Mayhe with his rigid back to a balcony in a stone-walled room full of opulence and extravagance. Captain Daniel Spaulding eyes the glass case nearest to him, housing something that looks like jewel-encrusted modern art, or the gaudiest collection of butt plugs ever assembled. He fears that one wrong breath might leave him indebted for life. Rupert Fleck, a heavy-set white man with thick, dark brown stubble and long, greasy, bleach-blonde hair emerges from a hemispherical, white chamber and into the room, wearing a robe covered in so many stains that its original color is indiscernible.
All that happened just since I went into VR?
He inquires in his high-pitched voice. Mayhe's hands flick a metal wristband matching one she and Captain Dan wear.
They've been in there for almost a month.
Mayhe says,
A lot can happen in a month. I told you that installing a lock and a toilet in the VR module was a terrible idea. You are, quite literally, the last person to know.
Which one of those is which again? Literal and figurative?
Mayhe replies,
Neither are good, given the circumstances.
What circumstances are those?
Mayhe's deadpan stare jogs something loose in Fleck's dense head.
Shit. I have to make an appearance, don't I?
The captain asks,
Does he really?
Mayhe says,
Yes.
Why?
You need to calm the passengers, let them know that the rumors are true about Earth, but also assure them that they are safe on Asteroid B.
Well,
Fleck says as he steps toward the balcony.
Let's get it over with.
Once you shower,
Mayhe interjects.
People will be able to smell you over the holograms.
The captain suggests.
Perhaps I should take this one for the team.
Fleck agrees.
That's a fantastic idea. What's the point of a captain if not to make corporate announcements?
Directing the crew so we don't crash into anything or suddenly explode.
Fleck says.
That's not why I hired Captain Spaulding here.
The captain glances out the balcony window in sheer terror and then snaps his eyes back toward what is somehow the lesser of two horrors. Fleck.
I know.
I hired Captain Spaulding specifically to give corporate announcements. He can delegate the other stuff.
Mayhe turns to the captain and asks,
Have you delegated anyone to keep us from crashing or suddenly exploding yet?
Captain Dan says,
I assumed that was part of the hiring structure. I know we have engineers.
Fleck turns toward Captain Dan, his face somewhere between authoritative and intellectually constipated.
So, you haven't delegated the not crashing or suddenly exploding.
Captain Dan says,
I'll get right on that.
Later. I'm starved for human contact. So, what else is going on?
The captain says,
I must say, having a gain-of-function lab on board is quite dangerous.
Fleck shrugs.
It wasn't my decision. It was Mr. Bannister's.
Dan reminds him.
But you have the power as the owner of the ship to put a stop to it.
Stop talking about the gain-of-function research already.
Fleck says, instantly exasperated.
It's profitable. Don't you have any explosions to go prevent?
The captain grits his teeth.
If it's between that and preventing a social catastrophe, I feel better equipped to do the latter. I've already got a lot of notes for the announcement.
It can wait until evening anyway. What about the Mickey Mouse Club?
I cannot stress this enough.
Mayhe says.
They detest it when you call it that.
Why? The Mickey Mouse Club is a prestigious organization.
Mayhe rolls her eyes and says,
I'm not going into this with you again.
The captain interjects.
Ed Kratz wants more regulations.
Just like Edward.
Bruce Button wants them all removed.
Darley started a cryptocurrency.
Byron's mother wants the crypto mining shut down because of the pollution killing her vineyards, and James Bannister wants whatever his wife wants, as always.
And what is that?
Captain Dan replies with a wide-eyed, distant expression.
Absolutely everything.
Fleck slaps himself on the forehead.
Of course.
As Fleck and his assistant walk onto the balcony overlooking a courtyard, Fleck asks Mayhe,
How are you not still in shock?
her tone dripping with something, but somehow also incredibly dry. Mayhe says,
I am.
The captain hesitantly steps over the threshold and out onto the balcony, fixing his eyes on the stone floor, and then steps back to brace himself in the doorway. The O'Neill cylinder they're now trapped inside uses centrifugal force, like a truly enormous gravitron, to keep the artificial landscape and its people plastered to the inside of the cylinder. The ends of the cylinder are two massive collections of aquariums, one fresh and one salt, both divided into an array of hexagons, the outermost of which lead into the onboard ocean and the Great Lake that line the rims of the cylinder. 6 walled-in hexagons filled with hexagonal and occasionally triangular streets and waterways all wrap around the inside of the ship. Steep, artificial mountains run along the center, just within the great hexagon opposite the castle, so directly above. More worn-looking mountains fan out into hills on either side. These feed streams that run to ponds and small lakes within that great hexagon and rivers leading through the barriers into the others. The visible portion of the great hexagon containing the castle is full of ponds and golf courses and buildings marked with Fleck's name. A couple of cars move slowly along the motorways, while the vast majority of vehicles presently above ground are either part of unattended collisions or very inappropriately parked.
It's still astounding.
Fleck says,
I created this.
Mayhe rolls her eyes. To Fleck's left, one greater hexagon is composed of hilly forests dotted with small mansions and large vineyards, featuring architecture from Roman to modern, where the rivers run into the freshwater lake that wraps around one end of the cylinder. Every smaller hexagon has its own golf course and a black, magnetic device shaped like a clown nose with a spear through it. The hexagonal aquariums that line that cap of the cylinder are each filled with their own freshwater ecosystem, with the speared clown nose as a centerpiece. Fleck takes a deep breath and says,
Simply amazing.
You get over it.
Fleck eyes his assistant for a moment before turning to the captain.
What do you think of all this?
Fleck gestures to his right, where wide rivers and green pastures lead to fjords at the saltwater side, while a sandy beach and an arid landscape wraps from one end of the fjords to the other. The aquariums on that wall contain saltwater ecosystems, and this side has even more golf courses. The O'Neill cylinder is dotted with people. From this vantage, they look like ants. Some are walking in an aimless daze, others with a fleeting sense of purpose that gives way to panic, then results in collapse and sobbing in the fetal position. The captain glances up and softly squeals. He puts his eyes back down.
It's brilliant,
he says, unconvincingly. At that moment, Fleck's wristband rings. Fleck puts it to his mouth.
Yeah?
Mr. Fleck?
A woman's voice asks.
Yeah.
Please hold.
Fleck sighs and says,
It's James's assistant. I'm on hold.
No shit.
I just keep thinking. We're stuck here, and any moment, a meteorite could burst through the hull and suck us all out into space, ending the human race.
Don't be dramatic. There's still Asteroid A.
We haven't heard from Asteroid A in 11 days.
Clinging to the doorframe, Captain Dan says,
Maybe you should catch up on the latest news, have a proper cry, and let me handle the announcement.
I'm not going to cry.
Fleck insists. Captain Dan looks as far away from the mountains looming upside down over his head as he possibly can, at his feet, and says under his breath,
The mountains aren't going to fall on me.
As everything wobbles in his slightly blurry vision, it sure seems like they might. He inhales deeply and holds it. He locks eyes with Fleck, releases his grip on the doorframe, and steps out on the balcony and up to his boss, maintaining uncomfortable eye contact on his way.
What is going on with you, Captain?
Just, please, let me handle the announcement.
All right. I don't even want to do the stupid announcement. If you're so keen on it, have at it.
James Bannister's assistant's voice comes out of the wristband, announcing,
Mr. Bannister is on the line.
Fleck holds the device out in front of himself. Suddenly, Mr. Bannister's hologram appears over Fleck's wristband. He's a gorgeous, blond man in a well-fitted gray suit.
You've been in VR for a month, Rupert.
He scolds Fleck.
It's time to take charge before anybody else steps in to fill the void you've left since we arrived. All the investors are demanding that you personally make an announcement. Assure the passengers that everything is fine. And don't fuck it up.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do it this evening.
Bannister says.
Fine.
And the hologram disappears. Captain Dan says.
Well, fuck me in the ear.
What? You. No.
Fleck says.
Not that it would fit, I confidently assure you.
Captain Dan cocks his head at Fleck and says,
It's an expression. I'm going to check on that whole explosion delegation situation, then grab my notes, and I'll be back, probably before you're out of the shower.
It damn well better be a long one.
Please, don't do the announcements without me.
Yeah. Whatever.